Welcome to the 13th house. Hope everyone's having a good evening or whatever time it is, wherever you are. If you're new, welcome in. Just going to go ahead and give you a heads up. I do cuss. I utilize tarot cards and oracle cards and a plethora of other things, but I'm not just a tarot reader. I channel remote viewing, all kinds of stuff, and I operate primarily on the subconscious wave, the shadow, but I am balancing with the light too, so whatever. Intentionally unlabeled, I guess we can say. And if you're returning, welcome back. Thank you for your continued support. For my safety and yours, anything I say, do, what have you, is for entertainment purposes only, okay? Your perception is your responsibility, and I urge you to use your discernment. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And if you like the way I vibe, you like the stuff I put out, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and get into it. I took some notes for today, because it's a lot. Alright, so some songs are Wicked Garden by Stone Temple Pilots, Emergence by Sleep Token, Strawberry Wine, I forget who sings it, but it's a country song, Ashes by Celine Dion, Crown of Snakes, I forgot the artist, Fate of Ophelia by Taylor Swift, and SOS by Indilia, and I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. Anyway, she speaks French, sings in French, whatever. Phrases, names, and words. It feels like prayer is pointless, like I'm wasting my breath. I can't get off unless I think of you, doesn't matter who I'm with. I disappeared when you believed I wasn't real. I share a body with you in a way, for now. It's an inside-out process that is what is causing you so much confusion. We chose to forget. I love you anyway. My love, the love I feel for you and from you is real. So I can't accept that you aren't real also. It's okay to be aware of the fact that you were set apart. It's not arrogant to speak your truth, okay? Try this. Think of the most unbelievable, outrageous, what have you, truth that you hold within you that you think other people wouldn't receive well. And just speak it out loud, randomly to a stranger, or to the mirror, or just speak it into your pillow. What matters is speak out loud, and notice what that does. And how long has it been since you took time to play? Do you even remember how? Okay? Some of the things that I was told to mention that I'll be getting to in a minute is what pretending actually is, and how it's relevant to a lot of these deep truths and why they're so hard to accept, how the observer effect, perception, and imagination play such a huge role in reality itself, why imagination has been attacked outside of childhood. Some just words that are important are French toast, cinnamon, and sugar, and the word entertainment. And I have a whole section on that I'll get to in a minute. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive in to what all this stuff is about, okay? I think I'll start with clarifying life situation. That looks like a good place. Sorry. Okay. So a lot of this stuff is like, what is your muse? What inspires you? What has kind of fueled you since you were a child? You know, because that's where you have to trace your most internal truths to the core of your existence in this lifetime, which is usually in childhood. You know, like the type of games you played, what goals you had, what you believed was possible, what you believed was impossible, so on and so forth. We have answers unfold. Keep your mind open and be willing to learn from this experience. And then we have Mountain of Mastery. Ascend towards self-realization and triumph, guided by the stoic presence of the Mastery Mountain Pathway. Okay. But, with the way that I work with the subconscious and everything is it's a lot of weaving parallels and connecting dots across seemingly completely unrelated avenues and what have you. And one of those was what it means to pretend. Okay, so like if you were to have a garden and you tend to your garden, right? So if you were to go and pretend to your garden, you would be preparing it, getting it ready for what blooms, what grows, before it even grows, right? We have Dreamweaver. Dreaming and imagining bring your powerful vision into reality. Yeah. But, so it's like preparing for exactly what is planted in the garden, right? And so these seeds you came into this world with, what was already, planted in your heart when you got here, pretending is often, in a safe way, doing trial and error on the things that you would want to experience, are interested about. This is how we figure out, like, what's really for us or what we enjoy. And oftentimes, when we reach a certain age, we stop pretending. And the pretending turns into a more profound type of thing. It's becomes a way of existence, and it's actually like a whole performance. Which also goes into the etymology of entertainment. It's very fascinating. When you did blah, 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 blah. When you dive deep into what it means to be entertained, and you start to understand why the entertainment industry is the way it is, why Hollywood's so fucked, and so on and so forth. It's a corruption of the most vulnerable parts of your psyche, okay? The parts that they intentionally kept stunted in the way that you were raised, brought up, things that you were surrounded with, the way that the government had your parents operating, thinking, doing at the time, that laid the groundwork to set the example for you as you were growing. Alright, one last move. You have come far on your journey. Keep going, and you will soon see what you have accomplished. Nice. And then we have going forward. Don't dwell on the past, but focus on creating a brighter future. Yes. Okay. So, with that in mind, alright, the cards that are already out are talking about, answers unfolding. Be open, be willing to take a look at what's being presented to you, okay? Not seeing it as a mountain, but it's not like something to master, okay? Your imagination, your subconscious, your shadow side is a part of you, okay? It's a presence within you, and it's very powerful, very potent, which is why they why the current structure wants to try to keep it as stunted as possible, okay? Dreamweaver, dreaming and imagination, helps bring your vision into reality. That's literally how emergence works. You get... Later on, I'm going to be doing videos on weaving together quantum theory, certain parts of some religion, because there's a lot of it that's been tampered with, and it's a lot of sorting through. So I'm going to help streamline that process, and meat and potatoes, that shit, whatever. But that'll come later, because I got a lot of work to do with that. But one last move. You've come this far on your journey. Alright, it's like I was talking about the whole pretending thing. And in my last video, it talked about like how the parts of your shadow self are rising to be noticed, to be integrated, okay? It's what you've gathered so far. Integrating that into your current reality, into life, bringing it to life, okay? Not only is that going to help you see the totality of what you accomplished, but also, what potential has been held beneath all of that. What seeds have, were planted and what they're going to look like, once they emerge in your garden, so to speak. Okay? Let's see, which deck do I want to go to next? I think I'll do this one of my handmade decks. But, with entertainment, I thought there was a card there, but it wasn't. What it basically means, and I'll get to the actual, what I wrote down, but, means to welcome something in and to hold it until it becomes, until it can occupy space within the mind, become a diversion, what have you. Okay? And doing it in a way that, because it's also like, the word entertain is also related to amuse, right? And when you think of amuse, you have to think of like being mused. And muse is inspiring the mind, okay? The creative part of us, all right? And then at my last reading, I talked about how it seemed like the masculine aspect has been rising up, you know, kind of taking the seat of power back alongside the feminine, not in front of, not behind, not on top of, not beneath, but, you know, side by side kind of thing. And, that creative force, okay, you have creation and then you have inspiration. If a creator isn't inspired, like, I'm an artist, like, these sculptures and shit, I make these. I made this, like, I create, I love to create. But if I'm not inspired, then that creative force doesn't really mean anything, okay? That's funny, because this is the hand of manifestation, and it's up, okay? Manifestation's going up, all right? And, you know, the muses were all in, they were the daughters of Zeus and the goddess of memory. And they all had one, like, for poetry, for literature, for dance, for music, tragedy, so on and so forth. Okay, reap, harvest, that's another garden reference to reaping what grows, harvesting what grows in your garden. Oh, and then that song, Wicked Garden. Okay, now I know why I channeled that. Alright, creepy. Okay. So, when you think about, like, so what is your muse, right? So you have this inner masculine aspect that had been held back, and not only that, but the inner feminine, that creative, the source of that inspiration, you know, being objectified, what else was the word? Extorted, suppressed, okay? And the feminine aspect being in these subservient roles all the time instead of like a co-creator, all right? And that goes back even into like the religious texts and stuff. And guys, I know whenever I start channeling, it starts just coming out. It is what it is. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So it goes way back to a whole other side of a story, okay? And only one side was told, and that was his side, his story, okay? However, there is nothing done in darkness that will not come to light, okay? Because by way, or by suffering, the truth has to emerge, okay? And through all of this, not only has, like, the truth finally come around to be able to come to light, but all the wisdom and everything gained, the masculine, the feminine, both have had time to mature. And so therefore the reflections of that in this reality, the embodiments of masculine and feminine energy, as well as like the way it's reflected, okay? So too shall, what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of the fucking word. Grow? Ascend? Past the current limit, okay? Because before, you know, the creative process was a co-creative effort, and it wasn't just sex. It wasn't just fucking. And when people talk about like intimacy of any kind now, it's always like sex. They totally forget about all the in between of that, okay? And of course, all the entertainment, the music, the books, the movies, so on and so forth, that's like the center focus, okay? And it's, if you remember back when you were a kid, like the nostalgia and everything, because that's been coming up a lot in the collective subconscious, is this feeling of like either craving or sensing something pertinent to nostalgia or deja vu. If it's sensing that, then it's remembering how it felt when you were a child to be at home, to feel safe, to wander, to be curious, right? To engage with the world around you like it was a place you belong. Infinite possibility, right? And so, as these energies integrate and like the self-actualization process actually starts to happen, so I can only speak from my personal perspective. So let's just say, for example, I embody a lot of primarily feminine energy. However, I do have a strong masculine side, but it's balanced. Like, okay, so my self-actualization would be, to step in my embodiment of what I have experienced thus far. Okay, and so the reflection of that inner masculine counterpart, okay, would then have to surface on the outside of myself. So it's like a reflection of your heart, not necessarily a reflection of you as you already are, but the reflection of a counterbalance to that, okay? And which is also interesting because, like, when I looked up entertainment for tain as a suffix, in Latin, it had the connections to like tin, and also it kept mentioning like the foil backing on a mirror, like the reflective foil on the back of a mirror, and I was like, holy shit, like that's really intriguing because it's like that inner counterpart before you even become aware of it. It starts to set like expectation, what's the word, preference, and things to hold in place of you within yourself for you to live up to before you have even gotten to experience much else. And I think that's where a lot of the like critical self-talk and everything comes from, like insecurity that you're not going to be enough and this and that, is because that that inner aspect had been programmed to retain these extremely subtle like cues of hypersexuality and blah blah blah, whatever. Anyway, once it starts coming out, it just starts coming out. Alright, so we have reap, harvest, slay, I am watching, spy, video surveillance, and then longing, waiting, lonely, frustrated about having to wait. Okay, so the answers unfold as your manifestations continue to grow, alright? Your mountain of mastery, you'll be able to see the physical result of it as you continue along that pathway, being able to reap or harvest as you, but don't forget to continue to tend to your garden, okay? It's not just there for you to run through once. You want it to be long-lasting, right? You want to be able to maintain it. Dreamweaver, the whole thing about dreaming and imagination to bring your vision into reality, all right? That vision, that inner eye, okay? The eye that is shared between you and that aspect, okay? And the one last move is just being patient, right? It's frustrating, but you've come a long way. Let's change direction and see where you guys might be having those delays. Let's take a look at maybe where do some of you guys need some advice, some guidance, what have you, where y'all are at. getting something. Okay, so somebody out there, some of you, it sounds like more than one of you, is struggling with the notion of a divine counterpart. Okay? We have coveted for beauty, overprotected, withering alone, secluded, isolated, lonely, only seen as an object, objectified. Okay, yeah. That's kind of what I was picking up on. Yep. The whole thing of divine counterpart, alright? Because the people that you have been seeing outside of yourself have never felt quite right. Okay? It's never been somebody like, you always feel like you're settling kind of thing. No one ever measures up to that person. Like, it's, you don't know how you know, but you know who they are. Your heart knows. You know what I'm saying? It's very difficult to put into words, but it's not supposed to be something that can be easily explained away. And that's exactly why the subconscious speaks in symbols and, cryptic parables and whatnot, is because it's supposed to be understood by those who have the capacity to understand it. Alright? It's powerful. It's extremely powerful to be able to work with a creative force, okay, and which can literally change reality. That's a huge responsibility. And if you're operating all in the logical mind, like, you're gonna sterilize the fuck out of everything. Alright, community, group, collective of people, a crowd. Well, if if you're feeling objectified and coveted, then it's usually by someone of the opposite sex who sees you as an object to be used. Okay, and it could also be like people only keeping you around for what they can get off you, whether it's money, your ideas, your advice, and even sometimes just your energy. Like, if somebody knows you are so tender-hearted that if you won't turn them away if they come to you with some bullshit, like if I just need to vent, okay? It's very important that you protect your energetic field, and it might seem like being impolite, but if people can't respect your boundaries, then they have no business. Like, I didn't even see that come out. Nosy, hyper-focused on something far off. Attention is elsewhere. Eyes on what's in the spotlight. Being entertained. Eyes on the action. Watching the show I am watching. Okay, so, I love this because it has the infinity mirror effect. I call it the infinity mirror effect. Someone is watching you as others are watching you. They're watching them watch you. Okay? And if you know this divine counterpart, then you also are watching them as they're watching you and watching those who are watching you. Like, you see how this kind of like starts to look. Yeah. So you're not alone. Alright? And this is worth waiting for. Definitely. Timing is everything. I was on a tangent about something before I noticed that, but I already forgot. It'll come back around when it's supposed to. Alright. 2 came out. Bed, sleep, overnight, dream state, pillow talk, rest, sleeping over, intimate bedtime. Or da'at. No? Okay? That's one of the emanations. Alright. Then we have the alchemy, alchemical process. Alchemist, not a witch or practitioner. Transmutation of energies and situations, works with dark and light. Okay? I myself resonate very strongly with that. But it seems like someone's watching over you as you sleep. Okay? Because it seems like wherever you're going from in your sleep, like, I do a lot of traveling, so to speak, in my sleep, okay? And my rest doesn't come just from like my body being able to sleep. Like, it's at such a deep level because that's how I, like, that inner alchemy really starts kicking into gear. And so much of your imagination plays a role in this, because if you go to bed at night and you're sitting there stressing, running loops in your head over and over and over, being overwhelmed by what the next day is going to hold, whatever has happened during the day, or if you have a significant other or something, where you know when you go to hit the bed at night, they're going to be expecting something from you, and it just stresses you the fuck out. Like, I've been there too. Okay? These are like ways that these energies can bombard your system and create blockages for you to be able to transmute everything. Because if you're hypersensitive, you can use anything as fuel. Even the shit people throw your way, even the negativity, the toxicity, whatever, it's in, you have to choose what you're going to make of it. Okay? And you can utilize the time of waiting to put more into your garden. And like, it's like on the alchemy book, it has this tree, right? Start thinking, and like, think of the brain structure. And like, if you ever notice the picture of the tree of life, so it's this way, right? You have the top of the tree and then the roots, right? But if you turn it this way, and it's usually encapsulated in a circle, but if you turn it this way, the outside circle looks like a skull, right? And the canopy of the tree and the roots of the tree are side by side like the two hemispheres of the brain, okay? And in the middle is that sweet spot, and also like you do start getting into Midhaven, whatever, territory there. But also in the center of your brain is the hippocampus, okay? And that's where this, all this balance kind of comes to the core of it, okay? That seed is held. And the more that both sides can come through, it's just like, okay, so in terms of Immaculate Conception, okay, this also goes back to like Sophia and how she was able to create the demiurge, without her counterpart, whatever. It's a very similar thing because it's fertilizing one's own egg, so to speak, that seed, that inner seed, the seed of dreams, okay? And we're not talking about, it's so weird because it was like Mother Mary, but then it was like Mary Magdalene. Still two in the same once you understand that she begat him. He wasn't, like Jesus wasn't something that came from reproducing or procreating. It was to have begotten, whatever you want to call it. She worked with her inner masculine to bring forth the emanation of, okay? It sounds like a lot. It is. Okay, but I like to study what words mean because, words hold power. And I'm real big on metaphor and symbolism and diving deep into, anyway, whatever. We're not tangent there. But it's the same kind of thing. You getting your rest at night when you before you go into that dream state. It's very important that you stop the spiral of overthinking, and it can be very tricky at first, but for me, what I started to do was, I have a whole internal world, okay? And you can even, in quantum, it's a pocket dimension, okay? You go to it anytime you want to, you get to whatever. Alright, but you can think of like your beloved or the home you want to be in. The world that you feel like is your home. Okay? Some people, relate to the whole starseed thing. I'm not here to validate or invalidate that. Whatever. Think of that. Whatever intrigues you, whatever kind of shakes your muse. You don't have to talk to anybody else about it. That's the beautiful thing. Because it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks at that point. It's you and your inner self. And just drift off to sleep thinking about that. That is alchemy, and you may not even realize it. It's a really beautiful thing. And you'll start to notice, when you get up, you feel more refreshed. You'll notice your dreams. You'll start to remember them more because somebody was talking about not being able to remember their dreams, and they're sitting there thinking, am I being attacked, or does it mean that I'm cut off from source? No, it has nothing to do with that. You just might be a little overwhelmed with whatever your own personal situation is, okay? And especially if it has something to do with, like this whole thing of feeling overwhelmed and objectified and withdrawn. Like, you don't, like, you're being kept away intentionally from that which your soul truly craves, okay? In a way that's not false, it's valid. But, you know, it's important for us to remember the power that we hold and to be reminded that, yeah, it sounds crazy, but does it matter? Because I don't give a shit if anybody calls me crazy. Like, when I go and bring some shit, like, okay, tell me I'm crazy, bitch. I'll be having, you know, my cake and eating it too while you still sitting around bitching. Okay, please. The being normal is being fucking miserable, cranky. I don't want it. Okay? And it's really sad because, like, I know, for me and, like, others from my generation and everything, growing up, if we spoke out loud about a lot of this shit, we would get sent to the loony bin. We would be locked up. Our parents would call a psychiatrist so fucking fast that it would be a padded room and a Thorazine drip for 72 hours. And it's sad. It's very sad. Because all it is like, how dare you exist beyond our current understanding of what it means to exist. That's literally all it is. That's why I don't judge others and their ideas and everything. Fucking live it up. Be weird as shit. I love it. I love you for it. Alright, then we have bottom feeder. Okay with low vibe situations, people, and lifestyle. Okay? So what this is saying is, you might be engaged with someone who, like I was just saying, like, someone who's okay with, being a bottom feeder. Snacking on less. Being sustained by less. Like, you know, some people just don't care, and that's fine. That's them. Let them do them, okay? Whatever. But, if you can't escape a situation, like, if you know it's not safe for you and your body or the ones who depend on you, to leave a situation or whatever, it could put you in a worse, immediate situation. Like, sometimes, like, if you want to leave and you don't have a place to go, you don't have money because someone's keeping you financially dependent, or, you have no one to watch your kids, so you can't go to work. And and you're a stay-at-home parent usually, so if you end up going to work, what the fuck's gonna happen with you? You see what I'm saying? Like, it would create a whole nother wheel of variables on an already overwhelmed system. So, you know, alchemize what you can with the power that you do have, which is always within yourself. And it's so much more powerful than you've been led to believe. And, you know, don't let other people say, you know, well, if you're not choosing to do this or do that, then that just means you're okay with it. No, the fuck you're not. And don't let anybody define your feelings, your emotions, your perspective, your opinion. I don't give a fuck what it's about. You are under no obligation to make sense to any fucking body or explain anything to anyone. Might be dealing with someone short or someone who sees you as beneath them, or you might be seeing someone as beneath you, less than. You know, you might have someone who treats you like you're beneath them because, let's say you are very imaginative, you are very creative, and they kind of mock you, like, making you out to be like a kid, okay? Or it could be that, you know, you are very imaginative and everything else, and because other people are assholes, you're like, well, they're just beneath me, and fuck them, you know? That's tricky territory, to start saying that, you know, any of us are above anyone else for any reason, because we don't know the totality of anybody's situation, and even if we did know every detail, we don't know what their internal struggles might be. You don't know what their internal voice is saying them. You should never forget when it was you that was struggling with your own internal voice also. But the important thing to keep note of is that you are not beneath anyone. And what makes you different is fucking beautiful. You don't have to give them a reaction. Sure, shit like that hurts. But as you continue to get more familiar with yourself and you get your backbone back, you'll start to notice how that shit rolls off your back like duck off of a water's back. Wow. Can tell I'm dyslexic. Water off of a duck's back. Fuck. Maybe you're short in stature. Hey, remember, big things come in small packages. I'm short too. And, that's something that the imagination and subconscious have also dealt with, because a lot of the feminine energy reflects a lot of the imagination, subconscious, in how it's embodied, okay? Always being seen as second to the logical mind, okay, the rational mind. Never mind the fact that a lot of the eureka moments that have made history, like scientific history, what have you, have been because someone thought outside of the box. Someone had an idea. They were inspired suddenly. And it was through exploration, and science is play when you're an adult. Okay? All it is adult play. You're just fucking around and finding out and writing down the results. And so it's always like being seen as second best. Like, the credit's never fully given. Never truly noted, because it's always given to the forward mind, right? And the forward mind's like, okay, I get that. Like, I feel that. I see where that's happening. And you notice, like, in the collective, people's minds are opening more to the unfamiliar in ways that they weren't 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, okay? So it's not just that the forward mind is claiming these things, it is reflecting in the external as well. All right, struggling to come out of the shell, dependency based on lack or insecurity, need to tend to inner child, not sure about one's true self. Okay, and it could be because of this having been put in a you're beneath me situation that, you do struggle to come out of the shell. And it's a whole late bloomer situation. Because for so long, you were having to be in performative roles. So much of your energy was being expended on just trying to get through the fucking day. Alright? Like, it's survival. And nothing is held against you for what you have to do when you're in survival, just so you know. Alright? Dual, disagreement, turning your back on another, and notice how they mirror each other. So, turning your back on your reflection. Like, just because you aren't sure about your true self doesn't mean that it's time to just turn around and be like, well, I'll just make it up. No. Get down to the nitty gritty. If you don't know what even moves you, if you don't even know where to start, start diving into something new. Okay? That's the whole thing with the masculine and feminine polarity, was they had forgotten that they had come from the same hole. Okay? And it was after going through all of this and coming back to center and realizing, hey, like, stabbing you stabs me. Stabbed you stabs me. Just, And it's one of the most beautiful paradoxes ever when you start to understand the totality of it. Physical attack, violence, rage. I said raise. Interesting. Alright. An attempt to inflict harm or injury. A destructive act, bodily harm, intent to cause harm. We had this here. So keep a lookout, just because this is pointing to, it's getting, like, increasingly aggressive, okay? Be mindful. If anyone's putting you in a dangerous situation, speak up. Say something. Alright? You can't experience nothing good or grand in this world if you yourself are incapacitated or, okay? Don't let nobody take that away from you. Speak up. If you have no one to turn to, you come, I'll put my email in the comments in the description, something. You can tell me. I don't judge, you know. If you don't have anybody else, just let me know. What is this violence? Tell me a little bit more about this. Woo-hoo-hoo. Alright. Being told to keep these ones. Vanity, vain, physical appearance, self-care, the vessel, and how it is perceived. Oh, okay, so it could be like an act of violence with self. Okay, never mind. Expectations on self. Like either somebody haven't told you or you haven't led yourself to believe that you're unworthy of this or that because of a certain way that you look or something you perceive as imperfect on your body. Okay? Being so caught up in how your body, your image is going to be perceived by others. And that's interesting because the whole thing of how the observer effect, perception, and the imagination play such a role in the structure of reality and what it means to even be able to form a thought. And if you ever look into the double split experiment, and see how particles react when they know that they're being watched versus when they're not. Okay? Sometimes the greatest act of violence you can commit unto yourself is in one of the thoughts that you have gotten so used to thinking. You have to remember, like, that certain parts of you are still so much like a child, okay? And it's brutality. Even just walking past the mirror and sitting there thinking, God damn, I'm so fat. Or no wonder so-and-so's mean to me. I look like this, or blah, blah, blah. It's so hard to break because it's so deeply ingrained. And, the sirens are going off outside. That's crazy. Anyway. But for me personally, you know, when I went through this, I had to work with my inner child, in a way where I had to keep it, like, pure in a state of wonder and awe, while, like, letting it mature with my body. I know that sounds weird, but, and then, so, it brings the whole of this to a completely different level because that inner counterpart is no longer seen like a predator who's going after a child, because y'all are in the same system, okay? And if you or the other are having to sit and play parent to the other aspect, like, that's not what the whole structure was meant to be, if that makes sense. And then we have union, bond, contractual or a contractual obligation. And then we have the heart wants what it wants, the mind questions why, the body is the gateway to finally experience this balance. Okay? And so, with all that's been said, you get back. You can see why having sort of a childlike state, driving a body around, all the hormones and all this other stuff, and it starts to make more sense as to why society as a whole has a lot of the problems that they do, because it is like a bunch of kids going unsupervised, and then they're all making like rules and stuff to justify their shit, all while knowing damn good and well that they're not acting right. Well, this technically says that I'm okay. Well, that's a law you wrote or some shit that came out of your fucking mouth. Like, of course you're gonna protect your ass. What about my ass? You know, it's like the whole thing. You start to see how ridiculous it is. Ridiculous it is, and it's so fucking. The audacity is so blatant. It's fucking hilarious. Anyway, we have seeing the reflection of the love you pour, realizing your reflection, looking at your heart, true love returning or revealing itself outside of yourself. Because you see how it's like, you remember what I said, like the reflection of your heart stepping outside of you, like an embodiment of it. Yeah, okay. Emergence, that sleep token phone, whatever. To the bone, can see through, x-ray, integrity, depth, deep perception, see things differently than others do, deeper, okay. And then adventurous, creative, thinks way beyond normal limits, eccentric. Alright, so this could be pointing to ways that your counterpart will be stepping into the 3D, okay? You'll be able to see through, like you'll know them when you see them. Because the love isn't just superficial, like it's beyond skin deep. It's even beyond bone deep. It is down to essence. Okay? You will know. God damn it! Sorry. It's one of those nights with my cards, man. I knew when the sirens started to go off, man, that this was only going to get worse. It seems like the sirens in my town do this. Coincidentally, when the energies around me are being, like, acting out, and then, like, troubled youth, karmic children, cry for help from a child, okay, children reflect the neglected shadow of their parents, divine intervention for an inner child. Okay, I was just talking about, like, you know, a lot of society running around like a bunch of karmic children. Okay, and of course that energy is going to turn and see me sitting here like, bitch. Yeah, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. We're not gonna do it. Whatever. Anyway. Get a couple more and then I'm gonna call it. I'm already pushing on 47 minutes. I always end up making these long as shit. I don't even mean to. Working on it. That's why I've started talking faster too. So I'm hoping like I'll be able to get it all out in enough time. Alright, well my hand just kind of was like, I'll just throw that. Alright, not like anyone else. Not afraid to be seen as weird. Authentic self-acceptance, doing what we came here to do. Live it and be it. What you are. Shit, that looks like fun riding an ostrich, though. Certainly would get a lot of attention. Anyway, apparently I'm getting sleepy because my mind's like, that looks fun as hell. Just riding an ostrich. So, those motherfuckers are mean, though. Anyway, moving on. Okay. Experience, travel to a familiar place. A delivery. Simplicity, happy in simplicity. Finding happiness in simplicity. Alright, simple doesn't have to mean less. Simple doesn't have to mean that it's not sparkly, that it's not magical, that it's like the saying, enough is a feast. It can be as like simple as that. What is simply enough for you? All right. Thank you. That's 2. I'll take both of them. All right. Trying to prove or convince someone or you of something by flashy or extra display. Someone animated when they talk, or they talk with their hands. And then dreamy, innocent, awe, daydreaming, admiration, childlike curiosity, listening, waiting patiently for you or them, children. Okay, so it could be that for a while the inner child was demanding your attention by making a dramatic display. Okay, but once you start dreaming, start imagining like you did, then that acting out, that childlike energy will have an outlet, okay? It will, because the whole thing is it's like a kid being like, play with me, you don't play with me anymore, okay? Yeah, it's as simple. The inner child is, they don't require a lot, and so they're resilient just like children are. Like, you can look at a child going through a lot, and we as adults can oftentimes like project our emotions on how we think we would feel and blah 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 if we were the child in the situation. But like, if you sit down and talk to children even when they're going through shit, they're so resilient. They have a way of going with it. And like, I remember growing up and some of the really messed up shit that I got into. In the moment, it was scary and everything, but I was able to let it go. And it wasn't until years later when people kept bringing shit up, and I had all these things continuing to be brought up and saying, well, this is why you're like that. This is why you're daydreaming all the time. This is why you have these ideas. This is why you have so many imaginary friends and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, but no, like, it's as simple as, like, they're just there. Like, my inner child knew of this internal space, and the adults in my life wanted to explain everything away, and they did it with theatrics. Like, it's because you went through all this trauma and blah, 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 and it was like, oh shit, that's really heavy. Okay, that would make sense. And so anytime when you're trying to grow up, there's a difference between maturing and growing up. Okay, growing up just involves cutting out your inner child. Maturing, you can bring that child up with you. But it puts a huge divide between you and that inner child, and it puts a blockage on a lot of healing, because every time your inner child goes to speak to you and tries to bring something to you that they remember you enjoy playing with them doing, it's, oh, well, I'm slipping back into, let's see, you're delusional again just because somebody's daydreaming. Okay? A grown-ass person sitting up in their room getting dressed up just because they fucking want to. Are you going manic today? Is that what it is? What happened? And it's like, bitch, like, I wanted to feel fucking fancy. Like, really. Like, people overcomplicate so much, and it's always gotta be something negative. You know what I mean? And it's really sad. The day will come when you'll be sorry. Okay? The day will come when you'll be sorry that you didn't heed all the ways that inner child tried to reach out for you. Okay? And on the bottom of the deck, this is interesting. Yep, the day will come when you'll be sorry for telling your inner child no. And not no as in you can't have anything, but no as in you can't come with me. Because it's connected so much to the eternal love transcends even death, soulmates, true love, and a healthy relationship. Everything is a reflection of the, what's the word? Come on, what's the word? What is the word? Give me a minute, guys. I promise. I'll get there. Shit. Fuck. Anyway, the integrity of a connection, what have you, the integrity of of your inner work is reflected outside of you, okay? It doesn't lie. It's that whole mirror thing, which is like the interesting that, you know, the whole stuff about entertainment and that film, that reflective film, and it's like taking that film and superimposing an image on it that should have never even fucking been there to begin with. So every time you look in the mirror, you think you have to be reflecting that phantom shape object that you will never aspire to in order to be considered worthy or beautiful or this or that or what the fuck ever. And it's always changing. And it's exhausting. You know? And, yeah. I think I'm gonna leave it there. That was a lot. Anyway. Until next time, guys. Good night.